So far, the experience of podcasting, has it been what you expected?
Yes and no.
I'm a little sneaky, I guess. But my biggest thing was, of course, spending time with you, but spending time with you to pass on lessons, but not just talk at you. But more than anything, the biggest lesson that I wanted to pass on to you was that get ready for the next iteration of you on your path to becoming wealthy. On this show, you'll get the insider's view on wealth creation, the class none of us got taught in school, with my co-host, daughter, and beginning investor, Sophia Bosch. And now, let's get started. Welcome to the Becoming Wealthy podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Bosch, and
co-host Sophia Bosch.
And we are super excited today because we get to celebrate
the 1 year anniversary of Becoming Wealthy.
We are so grateful to every single one of you that has been tuning in over the last year to, listen to this mother and daughter passing on wisdom of over 20 years of entrepreneurship from one generation to the next, as well as our amazing guests, men and women that are amazing trailblazing entrepreneurs that have really dedicated, their time to come here and pour into Sophia, pour into me, and pour into you, our listener. So with that, we thought that in order to celebrate our 1 year anniversary, we would talk about our biggest aha moments, the lessons that we've learned along the way, this year, as well as any unexpected things that happened as a result of the podcast. So Are you ready for that, Sophia?
Yes, I'm excited.
Okay, so I'm going to be firing away questions. So just don't think about it too much.
Okay.
Just whatever comes first, just spontaneous energy, what comes to mind. What comes to mind first is usually what your heart and your gut,
right.
Those are aligned. So sometimes, we overthink it. So don't overthink it. Yeah. Okay. So far, the experience of podcasting, has it been what you expected?
Yes and no. I expected it to be, of course, sitting in front of a camera, chit-chatting with my mom, having guests on. That is all that I expected. I also expected to learn something, but I didn't expect how much I would actually learn. And how many different fields, so when it came to the interviews, those were truly eye-opening for the fact that I realized that there's more than just the typical doctor, lawyer professions. I had also only ever seen what's in my house. So yes, entrepreneurship, but only in this one niche sector of real estate. I did know what was out there, but there were so many different types of businesses that my mind was blown.
Okay.
It opened my mind up.
Awesome. I like that. So I love that, because that means that, everyone listening also had the opportunity to explore along with us,
right.
And hopefully that helps us reach more people and more ladies and more teenagers. We made it on that first week that we launched. We made it to number 49 in the top of the charts on 2 categories, the top 100 on another category. And I couldn't really believe it, because it's a mom and daughter that started a heart project as a result of me having been really, really sick back in the beginning of 2023, and me wanting to spend time with you. It was basically this project that came alive as a result of that, of me reprioritizing my life and realizing that I am here to show women that they are the one, but that most important woman is in my life right now, young woman, is you, and that I could affect other women by this structured time that we're having together. That basically it could have a ripple effect. So I'm super excited. So was there any unexpected lessons that you learned so far?
I think, it's a little bit of a lesson, but it's kind of all encompassing with the podcast. Yes, of course, there's like specific lessons about wealth, things like that. But the biggest lesson is that communication is key.
Yeah.
Speaking to each other, speaking to other people, speaking in front of a camera, just in this day and age where everyone's on their phones, everyone's constantly watching videos, being able to communicate what you are thinking, what you are feeling, so that the other person feels the exact same is, I think, the biggest lesson I've learned. Like, I was looking back to some of the oldest videos that we had, like some of the first videos that we created. My speaking skills, whew, looking back on them, I'm embarrassed of them, like just a little bit, just a little. But therefore, you can see the growth till now. And I'm sure in another year, I'll be looking back on this and be saying the exact same thing. So.
And that's why the podcast is becoming, because we're in the process of becoming.
Yeah.
And anything that is worth doing is sometimes worth doing poorly at the beginning, and we just get better. Yeah. And so, okay,
especially with repetition.
Yeah, absolutely. Repetition creates mastery, and it helps you put in the reps, and when you put in the reps, you gain confidence, you gain capability, and new worlds really open up, because as a result of that, you have now been interviewed or have had the opportunity to go and
that's
speak.
Probably another unexpected thing that's happened. I never would have imagined that I would have been invited on other podcasts to speak for young girls that want to achieve the same things as me. Like, that's crazy.
I know.
It's so exciting.
I was so proud of you, and I was so grateful, to the two hosts that actually gave you the opportunity and had faith in you. And
there's a couple more coming, so stay tuned.
So excited. Okay, so how did you feel when we recorded our very first episode with the first guest? Because I think
because the first couple episodes, I think it was just us two. Yeah. And that was a little, like, it was strange. But then having the guest on there too, I didn't know what my position was at that point anymore. Because, yes, I'm the person that is being taught. I guess we're both being taught because it's a foreign, sometimes it's not real estate that we're talking about. Yeah. It's their own
niche and business,
So I took it almost as like a school environment. In the sense that I was learning as much as I could, and I also learned that the dynamic of the conversation, how to create the organic conversation,
that feel and that flow.
And I think you learned
how people. I think I got better too with time. Absolutely, because in the beginning, I had been hosting a podcast before, but it was just between two people, and now we had the dynamic of a third person.
So how do you incorporate a third person's ideas and words into it?
Yeah, and
comments.
So what was your favorite guest or favorite lesson that you learned from the amazing women that we have, and also a few gentlemen that came on board as well? Is there anyone that stands out, and what stands out about them?
I think there were two that really, really stood out. It was Sigrun, with her plan. She had created a plan mapped out by this year or by the end of this time period. I think it was a 10-year, 5-year plan. And she said, I want to make $1 million by the end of this. And she got so close to not achieving it. But in the last few days of the month, in December, she was able to get there, and really that stood out. if the manifestation part of it, that you can really do anything.
That you set your mind to, but you need to first have a clear target, a clear goal.
Vision.
And she put her
Exactly.
her hustle mode on.
Yeah.
In the last month. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. That was a really good episode. I loved how passionate she was and how she actually started her career in architecture and then started working for a startup, and then she had this incredible courage to go ahead and ask for the CEO
that
position.
Whole story was so captivating.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I loved her boldness.
Yeah. Plus the storytelling aspect of it, I work best with people telling me stories. So that's why this podcast is almost perfect, because I remember stories rather than people just talking at me.
Exactly. I think you're not the only one. I think most of us really are captivated and can really connect with another human where, when we hear their story.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Any episodes that brought you to tears or that stirred up any big emotions for you?
There was one. It was the episode where we had...
maybe, was it Tim?
I think so.
Yeah.
Where he said about the value creation triangle.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
That's the one that I bawled my eyes out. Because for the longest time, I didn't know. I had an idea. I knew I wanted to become an entrepreneur. That was clear. Mm-hmm. But as we kept going with these interviews, I was like, oh my God, there's so much that could be done. There's so many different areas.
How to narrow it.
Yeah, how do you narrow it down? So the triangle was, what are you good at? Mm-hmm. What do other people think you're good at? Mm-hmm. And what value can you bring to others, I guess.
Yeah. And implicitly, it was understood that what you're good at is hopefully something that you're passionate about and you love to do.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, because those things need to intersect.
Yeah, what do you love to do? And somewhere in the center, you're going to find what your calling is.
Yes.
I don't want to say career because you can have many different careers, but what in that time and space of your life, what you are meant to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gave you so much clarity, didn't it?
Yeah, to the point that even now I'm doing an independent study. I figured it out. I was like, maybe I start an art gallery eventually. Not maybe, I will start an art gallery. And that was clear because of that. So now in school, I am doing an independent study with a teacher on art curation, and I talked to her today, and she gave me 3 options or 3 different times that I can create and curate exhibits with different pieces of art, student art, things like that. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for you too.
It's the first steps.
Now, okay, so we have a favorite guest. We have, an episode that brought you to tears or that stirred big emotions. An unexpected aha moment from any of the episodes?
Something you go first. Let's turn it on you.
Yeah. So I would say, an unexpected aha moment. I think. I really enjoyed having here on the show, Sharon Lecter. I really enjoyed having Jason Medley. I really enjoyed having Steve Trang.
That's probably my aha moment for me. Yeah, I was waiting for you to say.
Yeah, and I think, I didn't expect him to have a background in engineering because what he focuses on is sales and sales coaching.
You wouldn't expect a nerdy engineer to be be good in sales. But
Yeah. And I loved how he talked about, you're constantly selling
whatever it is, yourself.
yeah, you're selling an idea, you're selling,
a
you're
product.
selling bedtime to your
Yeah.
kid, at home.
Anything is selling. So.
Anything is selling, and just the importance of also open-ended questions to really understand the other person and be
Yeah.
a great listener.
My aha moment in that specifically was the open-ended questions, but also the words within the open-ended question. So instead of saying like a word with a negative connotation, it's one with a more positive connotation, so the person will be less defensive when you ask the question.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a major.
I was like, whoa, all of that can go into someone's perception. Like, I never really thought of that before.
Absolutely, and in their willingness to open up, and you therefore being able to receive that information and then package it back and be able to be of influence to that person and bring them to a different decision ideally, than the one that they got on the phone with you on, since he's teaching sales. So yeah, I think I also loved Kelly Roach's episode with us. I remember when she said to you, Sophia, you were explaining to her that, in school sometimes your friends, sometimes your friends.
I was thinking about the prioritization.
Okay, well, that was a good one. Tell me about that one.
So, like, I took on way too many things last year in my sophomore year of high school. I just said yes to everything, and I realized that was, even though they were all such great opportunities, I can't do them all. Like, I'm human, and I have only so much energy, and to pour into only a few certain things that can really receive my full energy, so therefore they grow to the best, or like they become the best.
And what was her advice to you?
To
welcome all,
welcome
that exploration time.
Yeah, but then once you realize what you do like, what you don't, where you want to put your energy, you have that clarity, and then you can really work hard, and then from there will be seasons where you have to work, like, put one first and like reprioritize, instead of 10 that you're trying to work with, maybe just 3, and then you just switch the order on where you pour most of your energy
into it. Yeah, absolutely. I remember that. Well, for me, from her, it was when you were describing to her how when you are trying to get help, outside of school, a coach or a tutor, and how that was perceived by your friends in a negative way. And she then came very boldly and she said, Sophia, whoever perceives having one-on-one coaching or having a mentor is a loser, because why wouldn't you want to have an edge when you can have an edge and hire a coach to be really truly outstanding, the best people, the best.
People think it's cheating, people think it's cutting corners.
Athletes usually have more than one coach. Would that be considered cutting corners and cheating if they're putting in the time and putting in the work? It wouldn't, and it's just it's just a perception. Another one that I really, really loved was, do you remember Claudia Chan Wagner?
Yes. Oh my God.
We talked about this perfectionism tendencies, and how those perfectionist tendencies sometimes lead to burnout, to really, kids having,
and it's not healthy.
Yeah, having mental health issues. I also loved having here the combination of Camilla Jeffs and Tiana. Remember, that was a mom and
I
teenager
still follow
couple.
her on Instagram.
Yes. So I absolutely loved hearing how Tiana has basically made the decision to not go to college, and she's an active real estate investor in her family's, real estate investing. She's getting it, absolutely. And so that was also.
I need to go visit her.
I know, and
I need to go visit.
From that came the opportunity to possibly you guys even partnering, right?
Yeah.
And in a future.
Me finding the land. I hope that's still on the table.
Yeah. I know that you were a little bit, busy with
Yeah,
all the things we
yeah.
had going on, but maybe we can pick that
Pick
back
that
up.
up.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that would be fantastic. That would be fantastic if the two teenagers basically could
Right?
could get in business together and partner on a deal.
I agree.
Yeah, that those were some of my favorite. I have to say that every single one of them, there was something really special, you know?
Special and very different. That ties into what I was saying before. Like, everyone has their different twist.
Yeah.
On
One thing that
things.
I also heard from every single one of them, though, you know, the things that almost all of them had in common, including our very first one, who was Lisa Larder, and even Jason Medley, and I pretty much every single one of them, I think, said, find yourself a mentor, find yourself a coach, find yourself someone that you can model, that is doing the things that you want to do, that can help you collapse time, that can help you basically get to the shortcuts, or get, you know, to where you want to go in a straight line, and that can help you navigate sometimes the
put some
landmines and the challenges.
bumpers.
Exactly, yeah, some bumpers, so that you're not kind of like, you know, wasting time on trial and error
Yeah.
on the things that you want to learn.
It's like a bowling alley. I still need the bumpers because I can't.
Absolutely. So I heard that from every single one of them. I heard do something that you're passionate about.
They're like, it's a waste of time to do what you hate.
And it's a lot of them basically drove the lesson of wealth has no meaning when it's just about money, and there's no fulfillment, and there's no satisfaction, and there's no connection, and there's no
Like, what are you going to use that money for? I heard plane tickets to see family that live out of the country so I can spend more time. The financial freedom to be able to stay with that family for long periods of time and not be worried about money issues. I heard people all the way from helping their kids with college to being able to retire whenever they want, or do whatever they want, buy whatever they want, because it's support their family because they can't, because they can.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all in all, I think, you know, for almost all of the guests, also wealthy.
For you, your health.
Yeah, wealthy meant health. Or fitness. I almost like to think about it as like many F's. The F's. Fitness, family, faith, finances, flow. Any other F that I'm missing?
Fitness?
We said fitness. Yeah, I think, that friends. Yeah, absolutely. So
Freedom.
Yeah, all of them, I think, talked about wealth in the context of those many F's. That's what we were discussing the other day, remember?
Yeah,
the many F's. Yeah. So, what is your hope? What are you thinking we are going to be doing in this year 2 or season 2 of the Becoming Wealthy podcast? What are you hoping to accomplish in the podcast?
I would like to continue getting more guests on here and learn as much as I can from them, even though you might see me like being sometimes a little quiet in those interviews. I'm just intently listening. Like, I first listen and then I process, and then if I have questions, I'll ask them, things like that. But I want to keep getting those interviews. I also want to go on a lot of more podcasts, experience that, because this is comfy. These chairs are like my nice little comfy area. But when I sit in other people's chairs, then it gets a little...
Yeah, and you've had the opportunity to sit in these chairs and actually be interviewed. Also, I know that your very first interview was on the Carrot podcast, which is a real estate podcast as well. And I think they were really, really impressed just to see, you know, a young woman getting it done and hustling on hustle mode for her first land flip.
So I want to go on more podcasts, do more speaking
Wow.
Yeah. So that, like, I never thought I would say that. Like, do more public speaking. That sounds fun. But I mean it now.
oh, that's exciting for me. That's really, really exciting for me, because
And
I
also
think
pick up, like, the land business, get a couple more land deals for sure. That's just me personally. And so I can be able to share on the progress, the hurdles that I might have to jump over.
yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, are there any specific entrepreneurs or guests that you would like for us to bring on the podcast? Are there any people that you're like, wow, I would totally love to have this person because I follow them on Instagram? Any special guests that you and we could see if we could make it happen. It doesn't hurt to ask, right? Yes. Who's that?
I've been following, the Cardone family, but specifically Sabrina,
Okay.
the older daughter. I believe she's 15.
Yes.
I think her and I would be very good friends. Like, I feel like we have similar experiences in that we can't really relate to other kids our age, in the sense that we were raised in such a different environment that teaches financial literacy, things like that, to their kids. So I think her and I have a lot in common. And I really want to talk to her and be able to finally share those experiences with someone and be able to connect on that level.
Definitely, both Sabrina and Scarlett are really growing up in a very entrepreneurial family, and
Scarlett seems like a ball of energy, and I love it. I want to meet both.
Awesome. So, who else are you thinking out there? That you admire and that you would love to have here.
Can I ask you though?
Yeah.
Who do you want to bring on?
I would love to actually have Kim Kiyosaki here on the podcast. I would love to have her and just talk about her experience as as an investor of many decades, possibly even Rich Dad as well, Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah,
I think
I was able to meet him the other day at school. He lives here in town in Phoenix, and one of the kids that goes to, apparently she's like neighbors with him or something. So they were able to bring him in to talk to us at school. So that was the first experience I've had with teaching children the ways of, I guess, the wealthy. So that was, the teachers were very interested in seeing what he has to share with us teenagers.
Yeah, I bet. Any others out there? I mean, I would love to have Mari Forleo. She's a lady that is also teaching other women entrepreneurship. I would love to have her here on the show. She's had her show and a podcast. I mean, for years, she's been teaching online marketing and online entrepreneurship, to men and women, really. Like I said, I've been following her for years, so I would love to have her here. I would love to have my mentor, Allie Brown, which I know that we're working on, getting her scheduled in here.
Also, this is just generally, we've had a lot of, I understand the whole point of having like the guests on is that they've already gone through a good portion of their life, built what they've built. But I feel like I've heard that there are some teenagers that have already gotten to that point. I want to interview them. See.
I know. I think Isabel Guarino was telling us about some of these kids, and because she's got the Young Bus podcast, so she's had other young people basically on her podcast.
And she's also in Phoenix, so that must mean that they're also in Phoenix.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
We can totally do that. I love that. Now, do you see us continuing into year 2, year 3? I mean, by the time year 3 comes around, you will be halfway through senior year, if not finishing senior year.
Year 3?
Year 2 would be next year, which would be 20.
September.
Yeah. you would be starting your senior
October,
year.
it's like
So year 3, yeah, year 3. Do you think that you're gonna want to continue this
I
even
think so.
past high school?
I think so.
That you're gonna be in college and you're just gonna
Yeah,
join me,
in the Zoom.
virtually
That's
on Zoom?
crazy. Yeah, that sounds good. In my messy dorm, that sounds great. With my roommate.
You're gonna have to
Maybe
clean up.
Oh, yep. I'll give you a room tour.
Yeah, absolutely. We would love to have that. I am sure that people that have been following you and have been seeing you grow, since you're very little, would love to continue to have a little peek into your world.
Yep.
Now, has the added stress of the time commitment and the stretching past your comfort zone been worth it, Sophia?
Yes, I have, especially in the sense of my communication skills. Again, I keep bringing this up because I think it's so important. Today, I was even talking with one of my teachers, and like as I keep talking with them and discussing certain things, I can see myself, like I can hear myself. The words are flowing, like it's really
Getting better.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Woo! And that for me is the biggest accomplishment, because I want to say that I'm a little sneaky, I guess, but my biggest thing was, of course, spending time with you, but spending time with you to pass on lessons, but not just talk at you. But more than anything, the biggest lesson that I wanted to pass on to you was that you could recognize for yourself, and by yourself, by the actual doing of the podcast, that you're what I like to call the one. And what do I mean by the one? Meaning the one that goes first, the one that speaks up, the one with a different point of view, the one okay with having a different point of view and being the weirdo, right? The one that has something valuable to say and that is not scared of being visible and of being heard and of using her voice.
right.
Yeah? I wanted you to be the one that not only says, but that also demonstrates with actions. The one that people want to listen to. The one that does it scared. Right? Because there's a few moments
Fear.
there where you're like, oh my God, I don't want to do the introduction with this guest. You do it. I'm a little scared.
Oh, that's another goal of mine, to start doing those introductions.
Wonderful. So I wanted you to be, the one that does it scared, the one that listens, the one that learns, the one that becomes resourceful, the one that invests in herself and sees the fruits of that work of, of having invested in yourself, the one that is comfortable in working in the midst of the unknown. We didn't know what this year was going to turn into, and look at you now. Like, you're reaping the fruits of of this year, even though we had kind of like a vision, but we really didn't know what was in between, where we were standing at last October,
what we had to go through.
To being here
Yeah.
a year later. Absolutely. So I wanted you to be that person, basically, that that is willing to go through the unknown, that is willing, the one that understands also that because you don't know what unexpected challenges are going to come, that stays humble, the one that is proud of herself, the one that believes in herself instead of constantly doubting herself, the one that impacts other, the one that leads, the one that is filled with immense personal power, because you actually improving your communication skills has not just been because I supported you. If you would have not actually showed up every single Tuesday, and sometimes Tuesdays and Thursdays, and some weeks even 3 times a week to podcast, we would not be here today. So I'm really glad that you're learning by doing, that you're learning by proxy, that you're learning by rolling up your sleeves and actually going all in things. And I wanted you to learn that whenever you go all in on things, that only amazing things can come. But it's not the same as if me if I'm telling you, you have to experience it in order
Yeah,
to
yeah,
embody
I
it. You know what
agree
I
with
mean?
that. I agree. You have
So-
to put, like, it's only so much. I've had this with school, things like that. They're like, "Oh, you just do this," and I'm stubborn, or a lot of people, they just don't believe it until they actually experience it themselves.
Absolutely. So I think you're the one.
Thanks.
So with that, anything else that you want to wrap up and celebrate the 1 year anniversary podcast? I wanted to actually celebrate it with our listeners and say, that if you have enjoyed the 1 year of the Becoming Wealthy podcast, that we would greatly appreciate a 5-star review and actually leaving us a written review, on the platform that you're listening to this podcast, and sharing with another woman and or teenager in your life, and whoever basically over the next 4 weeks, the weeks right now of the month of October, go ahead and does that we would come up with some kind of a prize for them. What do you think about that?
I love
that. Way
that.
we can celebrate.
Yes.
What do you think it could be a great prize? I don't know. Maybe we could brainstorm, but something fun. I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Or maybe even bringing them here on the podcast and hearing their story.
All of that sounds great.
Yeah?
I'm down.
Okay. Well, with that, we would greatly appreciate your review. And
we appreciate you being here also.
And your continued support, and we're immensely grateful for you allowing us to come into your headspace, into your home, into your world every single week with another episode of Becoming Wealthy podcast. And with that, thank you so much, and we will be with you on the next episode of the podcast. Thank you much. Is that a wrap?
Yes.
That's a wrap. We did it.